God says, "This is very serious. God is trying to reach you. Very bad news is coming to your house." The question you may not want to answer: what if the thing you're most afraid of happening isn't actually the message you need to hear? What if you've been waking up with a strange heaviness in your chest, sensing that something is wrong, wondering why your mind keeps returning to the same fear? And what if, instead of immediately assuming that disaster is coming to your home, you stopped for a moment and asked, "God, what are you actually trying to teach me before I react to what I cannot see?" Because sometimes fear arrives before facts. Sometimes anxiety creates a story before reality gives you evidence. And sometimes the strongest spiritual response isn't panic, it's discernment. So before you continue, take a breath. Look around your room. You are here. You are alive. This moment is real. And whatever tomorrow brings, you don't have to live tomorrow's problems today. But what if this message isn't about predicting tragedy? What if it's about preparing your heart to respond wisely when life becomes uncertain? Stay with me, because we're going somewhere deeper than fear, when your home no longer feels like a place of rest. There are times when your own house doesn't feel peaceful. You close the door behind you, but your mind doesn't switch off. You sit down, but your thoughts keep running. You eat, but you're thinking about money. You lie in bed, but you're replaying conversations. You wake up, and before your feet even touch the floor, your mind has already created 10 possible disasters. Maybe you've been carrying family tension. Maybe you're worried about someone's future. Maybe you're dealing with financial pressure. Maybe someone you love is going through something you cannot fix. Maybe you've been trying to keep everything together while quietly falling apart inside. And perhaps you've been asking, "God, why does my home feel so heavy?" Here's something important. Not every heavy feeling means something terrible is about to happen. Sometimes heaviness is exhaustion, sometimes it's unresolved grief, sometimes it's conflict, sometimes it's financial stress, sometimes it's the accumulated weight of responsibilities you've carried for too long, and sometimes you simply need to stop, breathe, pray, and ask for help. What if the warning you need isn't be afraid, but pay attention to what you've been neglecting? That's where this message begins. Don't let fear become your prophet. Fear is persuasive. It speaks quickly. It fills in missing information. It takes one possibility and turns it into certainty. You hear bad news somewhere, and suddenly you imagine it happening to your family. You notice someone's unusual behavior, and your mind creates an entire explanation. You receive an unexpected phone call, and immediately assume something terrible has happened. Have you ever noticed how quickly your mind can turn uncertainty into catastrophe? That's why discernment matters. Faith doesn't require you to deny reality, and wisdom doesn't require you to imagine the worst. You can say, "I don't know what will happen," and still remain peaceful. You can say, "I'm concerned," without saying, "Something terrible is definitely coming." Those are completely different statements. Don't allow fear to speak with authority it hasn't earned. If there's a genuine problem, address the problem. If there's evidence, examine it. If someone needs help, help them. If something requires preparation, prepare. But don't punish yourself emotionally for disasters that haven't happened. Your mind deserves rest. Your home should become a place where your soul can breathe. Your home doesn't have to be perfect. There can be unfinished bills, unwashed dishes, arguments, noise, children running around, work waiting for you. Life happens, but you can still create moments of peace. Turn the television off, put the phone down, open the window, take a slow breath, pray. Read something that strengthens you, sit quietly for 5 minutes, talk honestly with someone you love. When was the last time you allowed your home to be quiet enough for you to hear your own thoughts? Sometimes we keep filling the room with noise because silence forces us to face what we've been avoiding. But healing often begins when you finally sit still. You don't have to solve your entire life tonight. Maybe tonight you simply need to stop running mentally. Let your shoulders relax. Release the conversation. Release tomorrow. Release the need to know everything. Tell yourself, I will deal with what is real when it arrives. I don't need to suffer twice. God's guidance does not require you to live in constant panic. If you're a person of faith, this matters deeply. You can take spiritual things seriously without becoming terrified by every coincidence. You can pray about a situation without assuming disaster. You can seek God's direction without believing every frightening thought is a divine message. Can you make room for faith without giving fear the microphone? That's a powerful discipline. When you're uncertain, pray. When you're confused, slow down. When you're angry, wait before speaking. When you're afraid, gather facts. When you're overwhelmed, ask someone trustworthy for support. When you're facing a serious practical problem, take practical action. Faith and wisdom can work together. If there's a financial issue, make a budget. If there's a relationship problem, communicate. If someone is genuinely unsafe, seek appropriate help. If you're struggling emotionally, don't isolate yourself. Prayer isn't an excuse to ignore reality. Prayer can help you face reality with greater courage. Some warnings are invitations to change. Maybe you've been asking God to change your circumstances, but what if part of the answer is changing your habits? Maybe you've been praying for financial stability while continuing to spend impulsively. Maybe you've been praying for peace while constantly consuming stressful content. Maybe you've been praying for healthier relationships while refusing to communicate honestly. Maybe you've been asking for a new beginning while repeatedly returning to the same destructive pattern. What if the uncomfortable thing you need to confront isn't a person outside your house, but a pattern inside your life? That's difficult, but it's freeing. Because you can't control everybody else. You can work on yourself. You can change your routine. You can establish boundaries. You can apologize. You can learn. You can stop repeating what keeps hurting you. You can choose a different response. Sometimes the most important spiritual breakthrough is not a dramatic event. It's a quiet decision. I'm not living this way anymore. Stop ignoring the people you love. Sometimes we're so focused on mysterious signs that we overlook obvious needs. Maybe your mother has been unusually quiet. Maybe your father seems exhausted. Maybe your spouse is emotionally distant. Maybe your child keeps asking for your attention. Maybe a friend has been withdrawing. And instead of asking, "Are you okay?" we continue scrolling. Who in your life might need 5 minutes of genuine attention from you today? You don't need to solve their entire life. Sometimes listening matters. Sit beside them, ask questions. Don't immediately lecture, don't immediately offer solutions. Just listen. You might discover that the warning you were looking for wasn't about some mysterious stranger. Maybe it was a reminder to pay attention to the people already sitting at your table. Love is often practical. Love calls, love listens, love checks in, love notices, love serves. Don't make permanent decisions while temporary emotions are screaming. When you're scared, everything feels urgent. You want answers immediately. You want to confront someone. You want to quit. You want to send the message. You want to make the announcement. You want to walk away. Sometimes you need to act quickly, but many times you need to breathe first. What if waiting one night before reacting could save you from a decision you'll regret for years? Give yourself space. Write down what happened. Separate facts from assumptions. Ask, what do I actually know? Then, what am I imagining? Then, What action is genuinely necessary? That simple process can protect you. You don't need to respond to every emotional impulse. You can be angry and still be wise. You can be afraid and still be thoughtful. You can be hurt and still choose your words carefully. That's strength. Protect your family without living in fear for them. If you love your family deeply, fear can become especially powerful. You imagine accidents, illness, financial hardship, relationship breakdowns, unexpected emergencies, and because you love them, your mind tries to prepare for every possible tragedy. But there is a point where preparation becomes obsession. Are you protecting the people you love, or exhausting yourself imagining everything that could possibly go wrong? Prepare where preparation makes sense. Keep emergency contacts, handle important responsibilities, save what you reasonably can. Communicate with your family, take care of your health, secure your home appropriately, but after you've done what you can, release what you cannot control. You cannot stand guard over every second of someone else's life. Love them, pray for them, be present with them, but don't let fear steal the very moments you're trying to protect. Sometimes the thing that needs to leave your house is the chaos. Think about the emotional atmosphere of your home. What enters through your screens? What conversations happen repeatedly? What kind of language fills the rooms? Is there constant criticism, constant shouting, constant gossip, constant negativity, constant comparison? What have you allowed into your home so repeatedly that you've stopped noticing how it affects you? You don't have to eliminate every difficult conversation. Real life isn't always peaceful, but you can change the atmosphere. Choose better conversations. Create quiet hours. Limit unnecessary digital noise. Stop bringing every outside argument through the front door. Let home become a place where people can recover, where apologies happen, where people can admit mistakes, where children feel heard, where couples can speak honestly, where faith is practiced through kindness rather than fear. That kind of home can become powerful. Your soul needs both faith and rest. You cannot operate at maximum intensity every day. You are human, you need sleep, you need food, you need movement, you need connection, you need laughter, you need quiet, you need moments where you're not solving anything. When did you start believing that constantly worrying meant you were taking life seriously? Worry isn't the same as responsibility. You can care deeply without mentally rehearsing disaster all night. Rest isn't laziness. Rest gives your mind room to process. Even Jesus withdrew from crowds. He prayed, he rested, he spent time away from constant demands. You don't have to be available every second. You don't have to answer every message immediately. You don't have to carry everybody's emergency. Sometimes saying, "I'll deal with this tomorrow," isn't avoidance. It's wisdom. When something serious happens, let your character speak. Eventually, life will bring difficult moments. Nobody escapes every painful event. There may be unexpected news, there may be loss, there may be financial pressure, there may be family conflict, there may be seasons you never wanted. But here's what matters. Who will you be when life doesn't go according to your plan? Will you become cruel? Will you collapse into hopelessness? Will you blame everyone? Will you isolate yourself? Or will you slow down and say, "This hurts, but I will take the next right step"? That's resilience. You don't have to pretend everything is fine. You can cry, you can grieve, you can admit you're scared, you can ask for help, and still keep moving. Faith isn't pretending pain doesn't exist. Sometimes faith is looking directly at pain and refusing to let it become your identity. The difference between a warning and a fear story. Let's make this practical. Suppose you suddenly feel uneasy about someone. Don't immediately label them dangerous. Observe. What did they actually do? Is there a repeated pattern? Have they lied? Have they violated boundaries? Have they manipulated you? Have they threatened you? Are there concrete reasons to be cautious? If yes, take appropriate action. If not, slow down. Can you distinguish between evidence and imagination? That's discernment. Your intuition may tell you to pay attention. It doesn't necessarily tell you the entire story. Pay attention, then investigate responsibly. Don't accuse without evidence. Don't destroy relationships based on assumptions. Don't create enemies out of strangers. And don't ignore genuine danger either. Wisdom lives between paranoia and naivety. You are allowed to ask God for clarity. You don't need complicated words. You can simply say, God, I don't know what I'm looking at. Help me see clearly. Give me wisdom before I react. Help me recognize what is mine to handle and what I need to release. Give me courage to face truth. Help me protect the people I love without becoming controlled by fear. Teach me how to remain peaceful when I don't have all the answers. Those are powerful prayers, because you're not asking for a fantasy, you're asking for wisdom, and wisdom changes how you see everything. Don't miss today because you're afraid of tomorrow. This may be the deepest lesson. Your family could be sitting around the table tonight. Someone you love could be laughing. Your child could be telling you a story. Your partner could be sitting beside you. Your friend could be calling, and you're somewhere else mentally imagining tomorrow's disaster. What if the moment you're desperately trying to protect is the very moment you're currently missing? Come back. Look at the people you love. Listen to their voices. Notice the ordinary things, the cup of coffee, the sunlight through the window, the sound of rain, the conversation, the laughter, the quiet. These moments don't look dramatic, but one day you'll realize they were precious. Don't sacrifice today's peace trying to control tomorrow. Your response is part of your spiritual growth. Anyone can feel peaceful when everything is going well. The deeper test comes when uncertainty arrives, when someone disappoints you, when money becomes tight, when plans collapse, when you receive unexpected news, when you don't understand what God is doing. Who are you becoming in those moments? That's where character is built. You learn patience, you learn restraint, you learn compassion, you learn courage, you learn humility, you learn to ask for help. You learn that control was never as complete as you thought, and slowly, you become someone who doesn't need certainty to remain grounded. Don't live as a prisoner of bad news. Listen carefully. If you've clicked this message because you're afraid something terrible is coming to your house, take a breath. Don't let a frightening title decide your emotional state. Don't assume that something terrible is destined to happen. Don't treat fear as prophecy. Instead, use this moment as an invitation. Check on the people you love. Strengthen your home. Repair what can be repaired. Set boundaries where necessary. Handle your responsibilities. Pray. Rest. Seek wisdom. And if there's a real problem, face it honestly. You don't need to run from reality. You also don't need to invent disasters before they arrive. Can you become the kind of person who is prepared without being terrified? That's the goal. Prepared, but peaceful. Alert, but not paranoid. Faithful, but practical. Strong, but compassionate. Your home, your heart, your next step. Chosen one, listen to me one last time. Your future is not something you have to fear every morning. Your home doesn't have to become a place of anxiety. Your mind doesn't have to become a courtroom where every possibility is treated like evidence. You can slow down. You can breathe, you can pray, you can think, you can ask for help, you can make wise decisions, and you can keep living. If something difficult comes, you will deal with what is actually in front of you, not the imaginary version your fear created. If someone needs you, show up. If someone hurts you, establish boundaries. If you made a mistake, correct it. If you need forgiveness, ask. If someone needs forgiveness from you, consider releasing the burden without surrendering healthy boundaries. If your finances need attention, make a plan. If your relationships need work, communicate. If your mind needs rest, rest. If your soul needs God, pray. And if you don't know what tomorrow holds, that's okay. You were never promised control over tomorrow. You were given the opportunity to live faithfully today. So tonight, before you close your eyes, don't ask only, what bad thing might happen? Ask, what good thing can I do with the life I've been given today? Call someone, say thank you, apologize, pray with your family, put the phone down, sit quietly, forgive yourself for something you have carried too long, and then breathe, because fear says, something terrible is coming. Wisdom says, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I can choose how I live today. And faith says, I will not allow uncertainty to steal the life happening right now. That's the message. Not panic, not superstition, not paranoia, wisdom, not fear, faith, not helplessness, action, not obsession with tomorrow, presence today. And if you truly want to change your life, if you want to grow spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and personally, subscribe to this channel and continue walking with us. Keep learning, keep praying, keep growing, keep becoming wiser. And when the next frightening thought comes, don't immediately believe it. Pause, breathe, ask questions, look for truth, then take the next right step. Because your peace is valuable. Your family is valuable, your time is valuable, and your life is happening right now. Don't miss it because fear convinced you to live somewhere that hasn't happened yet. When God calls you to stop running from what needs to change. Maybe you've been waiting for something outside of you to change. You keep asking for a new season, a new opportunity, a better relationship, more peace, more stability, a breakthrough for your family. But what if part of the transformation begins somewhere much closer, inside your own heart, inside your own habits, inside the way you respond when you're afraid, inside the conversations you keep avoiding, inside the boundaries you refuse to establish? What if the most serious message you need isn't about something terrible entering your house, but about something unhealthy you've already allowed to stay there? Stay with me. Because this part isn't about predicting bad news, it's about becoming strong enough to face truth without letting fear destroy your peace. Sometimes the thing you fear is the thing you need to face. You've probably had something you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's a financial decision, maybe it's admitting that a relationship has changed, maybe it's accepting that an old habit is damaging you, maybe it's finally acknowledging that you're exhausted. You keep telling yourself, I'll deal with it later. But later keeps becoming tomorrow, and tomorrow keeps becoming next month. How long can you postpone a truth before postponing it becomes part of the problem? Avoidance feels comfortable for a moment, but unresolved problems don't disappear simply because you stop looking at them. Sometimes they become louder, sometimes they appear through stress, sometimes through anger, sometimes through sleepless nights, sometimes through emotional distance, sometimes through constant irritability. Your mind may be trying to tell you something needs attention. Listen carefully. Not every uncomfortable feeling means danger. Sometimes it means something needs healing. Your house can look peaceful while your heart is exhausted. You can clean every room and still feel emotionally overwhelmed. You can smile at dinner while carrying a private burden. You can tell everyone, I'm fine, while secretly wondering how much longer you can keep pretending. Have you been maintaining the appearance of peace while privately living in exhaustion? If so, stop judging yourself. You've probably been trying to survive. Maybe you became the strong one because everyone else depended on you. Maybe people call you reliable, Maybe you're always the one solving problems, but even strong people need somewhere to put their burdens. You weren't designed to carry everything alone. Talk to someone trustworthy. Pray honestly. Write down what you're carrying. Separate what belongs to today from what belongs to tomorrow, and give yourself permission to admit, I'm tired. That sentence can be the beginning of healing. God doesn't need you to pretend. You don't have to impress God with perfect words. You don't have to hide your anger. You don't have to pretend you aren't confused. You can bring the real version of yourself into prayer. You can say, I'm scared. I'm angry. I don't understand. I don't know what to do. I'm disappointed. I need help. What would change if you stopped trying to sound strong and started becoming honest? Honesty creates space for growth. You can't heal what you refuse to acknowledge. You can't correct what you refuse to see. You can't surrender something you insist you don't carry. Sometimes the most powerful prayer is incredibly simple. God, help me see myself clearly. Not just other people, not just your circumstances, yourself, your motives, your habits, your fears, your reactions, your weaknesses, your strengths. Because transformation begins with truth. Be careful who you allow to define your home. Home isn't only walls. Home is atmosphere. Home is conversation. Home is memory. Home is what your family learns to consider normal. And sometimes we allow another person's behavior to determine the emotional temperature of the entire household. Someone walks in angry, everyone becomes tense. Someone complains, everyone becomes discouraged. Someone constantly criticizes, everyone starts questioning themselves. Have you allowed one person's emotional behavior to control the peace of everyone else? You can't control another person's emotions, but you can control how much influence their behavior has over you. You can say, I understand you're upset, but I won't participate in shouting. You can leave a conversation that becomes abusive. You can establish rules around respect. You can protect children from unnecessary conflict. You can refuse to continue destructive cycles. Peace doesn't mean pretending nothing is wrong. Sometimes peace requires courage. Not everyone who enters your life should have unlimited access. This is a lesson many people learn late. You can love someone without trusting them with everything. You can forgive someone without returning to the same situation. You can wish someone well without giving them access to your private life. Why do you sometimes feel guilty for creating boundaries with people who repeatedly cross them? A boundary isn't revenge, it's clarity. It says, this is what I will accept. This is what I won't accept. This is how I expect to be treated. If that cannot happen, I will create distance. You don't need to scream, you don't need to threaten, you don't need to announce your boundaries to the world. Sometimes you simply change your behavior. You stop explaining everything, you stop sharing everything, you stop responding immediately, you stop allowing repeated disrespect, and you move forward. Stop trying to predict every bad thing. Your mind may think it's protecting you. It says, what if this happens? Then, what if that happens? Then, what if everything goes wrong? You call it preparation, but sometimes it's simply anxiety wearing a responsible-looking disguise. How much of your day disappears into problems that exist only inside your imagination? There's a difference between preparation and mental rehearsal of catastrophe. Preparation asks, what can I reasonably do? Anxiety asks, what if something terrible happens? Preparation creates action. Anxiety creates exhaustion. So when your mind starts racing, ask, is there something I can actually do about this right now? If yes, do it. If no, return to the present. That doesn't guarantee that nothing difficult will happen. It simply prevents you from suffering through imaginary versions of the future. Your children don't need a perfect parent. If you're raising children, remember this. They don't need someone who never makes mistakes. They need someone who can admit them. They need safety, consistency, attention, affection, boundaries. They need to know that adults can apologize. They need to know that anger doesn't justify cruelty. They need to know that mistakes can be repaired. What are the people closest to you learning from the way you handle pressure? That's a serious question, because your reactions teach. If every difficult moment becomes shouting, people learn fear. If every mistake becomes humiliation, people learn secrecy. If every disagreement becomes silence, people learn avoidance. But if conflict can lead to conversation, if mistakes can lead to accountability, if fear can lead to prayer, then your home becomes a place where people learn resilience. You don't need perfection, you need intentionality. Sometimes you need to apologize before you feel ready. Pride can keep a family wounded for years. Two people both know they contributed to the problem, both wait, both think they should apologize first. And months pass, then years. How much peace have you lost because you were waiting for someone else to make the first move? Apologizing doesn't mean accepting blame for something you didn't do. A real apology is specific. I shouldn't have spoken to you that way. I handled that badly. I hurt you, and I understand why. That's strength. You don't lose dignity by acknowledging your mistakes. You gain maturity, and sometimes one honest sentence can open a door that pride kept locked for years. Forgiveness doesn't mean ignoring what happened. This needs to be understood clearly. Forgiveness doesn't require you to pretend that betrayal was acceptable. It doesn't require you to trust someone immediately. It doesn't require you to return to an unhealthy environment. It doesn't erase consequences. Can you release hatred without pretending the wound never existed? That's a deeper kind of freedom. You can say, what happened hurt me. It changed me. I learned from it. I won't repeat it. But I refuse to spend the rest of my life carrying hatred. Forgiveness can be a process. Some wounds take time. Don't rush yourself. But don't build your identity around the person who hurt you either. Your story is bigger than what they did. If you're waiting for a sign, look at your responsibilities first. Sometimes we want dramatic confirmation, a dream, a coincidence, a mysterious event, a perfectly timed message. But perhaps the next step is much simpler. You already know you need to make the call, pay the bill, have the conversation, apply for the opportunity, clean your environment, change the habit, seek counseling, ask for help, rest. What responsibility have you been asking heaven to handle that actually belongs in your hands? That's a hard question, but answer it honestly. Faith isn't passive. If wisdom shows you the next step, take it. You don't need fireworks. You need obedience to what you already understand. Your family doesn't need your fear. It needs your presence. Imagine sitting with the people you love while your mind is somewhere else. They're talking, you're nodding, but internally you're calculating risks. You're thinking about money, tomorrow, the future, everything that could go wrong. You're physically present, but emotionally absent. What if the people you love don't need another solution from you? They simply need you to be present. Put the phone down, look at them, listen, laugh, ask about their day, touch their shoulder, give them your attention. You cannot purchase more time, and one day ordinary moments will become memories. Don't let fear steal them while they're happening. Your faith should make you more courageous, not more frightened. If every spiritual message leaves you terrified, stop and examine what you're consuming. Faith should not make you suspicious of everyone. It should make you more discerning. Faith shouldn't make you afraid of tomorrow. It should help you face tomorrow. Faith shouldn't convince you that every inconvenience is supernatural warfare. Sometimes a problem is simply a problem. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes someone made a mistake. Sometimes circumstances are difficult. Sometimes life is unpredictable. Can you keep your spiritual life grounded enough to recognize ordinary problems without turning everything into a catastrophe? That's maturity. Pray, but think. Believe, but examine. Trust, but use wisdom. Love, but maintain boundaries. When the house is quiet, what does your heart say? Tonight, when everything becomes quiet, don't immediately reach for your phone. Sit for a moment. Ask yourself, what am I carrying? What am I afraid of? What have I been avoiding? Who do I need to forgive? Who do I need to apologize to? What habit is damaging my peace? What responsibility have I neglected? Where do I need help? What would your honest answers reveal if you stopped distracting yourself long enough to hear them? You might discover that you're not waiting for a warning, you're waiting for permission to change. Give yourself that permission. You can prepare without expecting disaster. Let's make this practical. Keep important documents organized. Know your emergency contacts. Take reasonable care of your home. Build financial discipline. Look after your health. Maintain healthy relationships. Talk to your family about important matters. Know where to seek help if you need it. These aren't acts of fear. They're acts of responsibility. Why wait for a crisis before developing habits that would help you handle one? Preparation gives you confidence. But after preparing, live. Don't sit beside your emergency kit imagining emergencies all day. Don't spend your savings obsessing over collapse. Don't spend your life waiting for bad news. Prepare once, then return to living. The real question is, who are you becoming? Maybe you've spent too much time asking, what's going to happen? Try a different question. Who am I becoming while I wait? Are you becoming more patient, more honest, more disciplined, more loving, more responsible, more courageous, more peaceful, more humble? Because you may not control the next event, but you have tremendous influence over your character, and character determines how you respond when life surprises you. So don't spend every day trying to predict tomorrow. Build yourself today. Build your home today. Build your relationships today. Build your faith today. Build your wisdom today, when the answer doesn't come immediately. Sometimes you pray, and nothing changes immediately. That's frustrating. You ask, God, where are you? You look for an answer. Silence. Another day passes. Still nothing. Can you continue doing what is right even when you don't receive immediate confirmation? That's difficult. But patience isn't inactivity. While you wait, live. While you wait, learn. While you wait, serve. While you wait, heal. While you wait, prepare. You don't need to understand everything to continue growing. Some answers arrive through time, some through experience, some through conversations, some through consequences, and sometimes you realize later why a door didn't open. Don't force what isn't ready. Your peace can return. Maybe you've been living on edge. Maybe you've checked your phone 50 times. Maybe you've been searching for signs. Maybe you've watched message after message hoping someone would finally tell you exactly what is going to happen. But perhaps you don't need another prediction. Perhaps you need permission to breathe. What if you stopped searching for certainty and started building stability? Build routines, build healthy relationships, build savings, build spiritual habits, build emotional awareness, build boundaries, build skills, build self-respect, build a peaceful home. Certainty is rare. Stability can be cultivated. Don't give a frightening message more power than your own discernment. This is especially important. A title can create emotion. A dramatic statement can create urgency. But you still have a mind. Use it. You have judgment. Use it. You have the ability to observe reality. Use it. Can you hear something emotionally powerful without surrendering your ability to think critically? You don't have to believe every claim you hear. You can take what strengthens you and leave what creates unnecessary fear. If a message pushes you toward wisdom, compassion, prayer, responsibility, and peace, good. If something pushes you toward paranoia, hatred, reckless decisions, or terror, step back. Your spiritual life should not require you to abandon common sense. Something in your life may need to end. Not every ending is punishment. Sometimes an ending is protection. A habit ends. A destructive friendship ends. A toxic pattern ends. A season ends. A false expectation ends. A version of yourself ends. What if the thing you're desperately trying to keep is preventing you from becoming who you're supposed to become? Letting go can hurt, but holding on can hurt longer. You don't have to hate what you're releasing. You can simply recognize, this no longer belongs in my life, and walk forward. Your next season may require a different you. You cannot carry old habits into a new environment and expect different results. If you want peace, you may need different boundaries. If you want financial stability, you may need different spending habits. If you want healthy relationships, you may need different communication. If you want spiritual growth, you may need different priorities. Are you asking for a new season while protecting the habits that keep you in the old one? Be honest. Growth costs something. Sometimes it costs comfort, sometimes pride, sometimes familiarity, sometimes approval. But the cost of growth is often smaller than the cost of staying exactly where you are. The serious message may simply be, wake up. Not wake up in fear, wake up in awareness, wake up to your habits, wake up to your relationships, wake up to your responsibilities, wake up to your potential, wake up to your family, wake up to your faith, wake up to the present. What if you've been waiting for something dramatic to wake you up when life has already been giving you quieter signals? Maybe the signal is exhaustion. Maybe it's repeated conflict. Maybe it's financial stress. Maybe it's loneliness. Maybe it's the feeling that you're living on autopilot. Don't ignore those things. Pay attention. Make changes. Seek support. Become intentional again. You can change the atmosphere of your home. It starts small. Speak differently. Listen more. React less. Pray together. Eat together. Turn off unnecessary noise. Stop humiliating people when they make mistakes. Stop using old failures as weapons. Create moments of laughter. Create moments of gratitude. What would happen if everyone in your home felt safer expressing what they really feel? Maybe arguments would decrease. Maybe trust would grow. Maybe children would open up. Maybe couples would reconnect. Maybe old wounds would finally be discussed. Your home doesn't become peaceful because nobody has problems. It becomes peaceful because people know problems can be discussed without destroying one another. Don't wait until something is lost to appreciate it. This is painful but true. We often recognize value after absence. We notice someone's voice after they stop calling. We appreciate health after sickness. We appreciate time after it's gone. We appreciate peace after chaos. What do you have today that you might one day desperately wish you could experience again? Your answer might be simple. A parent, a child, a spouse, a friend, your health, your home, your freedom, a quiet morning. Don't wait for loss to teach you gratitude. Look now. Appreciate now. Love now. Say the words. You don't have to carry tomorrow's grief today. This may be the sentence you need tonight. You don't have to grieve something that hasn't happened. You don't have to mourn a future you cannot predict. You don't have to prepare emotionally for every possible tragedy. You don't have to experience imaginary pain in advance. If tomorrow brings difficulty, you'll face tomorrow. But today is yours. Can you give today permission to simply be today? Eat, work, pray, laugh, rest, love, live. Tomorrow will arrive when it arrives. Your story is not finished. Whatever happened yesterday, it's not the final chapter. Maybe you've made mistakes. Maybe you've trusted the wrong person. Maybe you've wasted money. Maybe you've damaged relationships. Maybe you've ignored your own needs. Maybe you've been angry with God. Maybe you've spent years afraid, but you're still here. And as long as you're here, there is room for another decision, another conversation, another apology, another beginning, another lesson, another act of courage. What if your next chapter begins with one small decision you make tonight? Maybe it's forgiveness. Maybe it's honesty. Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's calling someone. Maybe it's asking for help. Maybe it's finally saying, I'm ready to live differently. Start there, not with perfection, with one honest step. When fear knocks, let wisdom answer the door. Chosen one, there is another level to this, because once you stop believing every frightening thought, you begin noticing something deeper. Fear doesn't always arrive looking like fear. Sometimes it looks like preparation, sometimes it sounds like responsibility, sometimes it disguises itself as intuition, sometimes it even hides behind spiritual language. And that's why discernment matters. You don't need to become suspicious of everyone. You don't need to interpret every unusual event as a warning. You need to become steady enough to ask better questions. What if the strongest person in the room isn't the person who knows exactly what's going to happen, but the person who can remain calm when nobody knows? That's the kind of strength we're building now. Learn to separate facts from stories. Imagine receiving a message from someone you love. We need to talk. Immediately, your mind starts working. What happened? Are they angry? Did I do something? Is something wrong? 5 minutes later, you've created an entire story. But what do you actually know? They said, we need to talk. That's it. Everything else came from your imagination. How many times have you suffered because of a story your mind created before reality had a chance to speak? This is one of the most important emotional skills you can develop. Separate what happened from what you think it means. Those are not always the same thing. Your interpretation may be wrong, your fear may be wrong, your assumption may be wrong, and that's okay. You don't have to know immediately. Wait for information, ask questions, listen, then decide. Don't turn uncertainty into a family emergency. If you are worried about your family, you may feel tempted to warn everyone. You want everybody prepared. You want everyone paying attention. But imagine spreading your anxiety from one person to another. Now one worried person becomes three. Three become five. Suddenly the entire house feels tense. Are you protecting your family from danger or accidentally transferring your fear to them? There's a difference. If there's a real emergency, communicate clearly. If there's evidence of a genuine threat, take appropriate action. But if you're simply worried about something that might happen, don't turn uncertainty into panic. You can tell your family, "I'm feeling concerned, so let's calmly think about what we can do." That's very different from "something terrible is definitely coming." Your words affect the emotional climate of your home. Choose them carefully. Sometimes the best spiritual response is practical. Maybe you're worried about money. Pray. Then look at your expenses. Maybe you're worried about your relationship. Pray. Then have the difficult conversation. Maybe you're worried about your health. Pray. Then make the appointment. Maybe you're worried about your family's future. Pray. Then start preparing responsibly. What if the answer you're asking for is already sitting inside the responsibility you've been avoiding? Faith isn't opposed to action. You don't have to choose between trusting God and using wisdom. You can do both. Prayer can change your heart. Action can change your circumstances. Wisdom helps you know which action is appropriate. Don't sit frozen waiting for a supernatural feeling when a practical step is already obvious. Don't let one bad experience teach you to fear everyone. Maybe someone betrayed you. Now you're suspicious of everyone. Maybe someone lied. Now you assume everybody lies. Maybe a relationship ended painfully. Now you expect every future relationship to end the same way. Why should one person's behavior be allowed to determine how you see every human being you meet? That's what unhealed pain can do. It takes one event and turns it into a rule. People can't be trusted. Nobody stays. Everyone eventually hurts you. But that's not necessarily truth. That's often pain trying to protect itself. You can learn from betrayal without becoming permanently guarded. You can become wiser without becoming colder. You can establish boundaries without building walls around your entire heart. Healing means learning the lesson without becoming trapped inside it. Your body may be asking for rest. Sometimes people search for spiritual explanations for what their exhausted body is communicating. You can't sleep, you're constantly tense, your thoughts race, you're irritable, you're struggling to concentrate, you feel overwhelmed by ordinary tasks, and you think something must be terribly wrong. Maybe something needs attention, but maybe your body is simply exhausted. When was the last time you gave yourself genuine rest instead of simply changing from one form of stimulation to another? Scrolling in bed isn't always rest. Watching videos until 2 a.m. isn't always rest. Thinking about work while lying down isn't rest. Rest means allowing yourself to stop performing. Put the phone away, lower the noise, sleep when you can, take a walk, eat properly, drink water, talk to someone. And if persistent physical or emotional symptoms concern you, seek appropriate professional support. Taking care of yourself isn't a lack of faith, it's stewardship. Your home doesn't need to carry every problem you encounter outside. Maybe someone insulted you at work. You come home angry, maybe traffic frustrated you. You walk through the door irritated. Maybe somebody criticized you online. You carry it into dinner. How much outside negativity are you accidentally bringing into the place where you and your family are supposed to recover? Create a transition. Before entering your home, take a moment, breathe. Tell yourself, that happened outside. I don't need to make everyone here experience it. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. Talk about difficult things, but don't automatically transfer them. You can say, I had a rough day. Give me 10 minutes, then I'll tell you about it. That small boundary can change the entire atmosphere. You don't have to know who is against you. This may sound strange, but hear me. You can waste years trying to identify enemies. Who doesn't like you? Who is jealous? Who is talking? Who is secretly hoping you fail? Who is watching? Who is pretending? What would happen if you stopped trying to solve questions that have no useful answer? If someone consistently behaves badly toward you, you'll eventually have enough information to respond. You don't need to investigate everybody. You don't need to decode every facial expression. You don't need to analyze every social media post. You don't need to assume hidden motives. Watch patterns, stay observant, but stay peaceful. Your mission is not to discover every person who dislikes you. Your mission is to live well. Don't give gossip a place at your table. Gossip can make an ordinary evening feel exciting. Someone says, "Did you hear what happened?" And suddenly everybody is interested. But gossip changes the emotional atmosphere of a home. It teaches suspicion, it damages trust, and eventually people start wondering what you say about them when they're not there. What kind of conversations are you allowing to become normal in your home? Talk about dreams, talk about lessons, talk about gratitude, talk about problems honestly, talk about solutions, talk about things that make people stronger. Not every conversation has to be serious. Laugh, tell stories, enjoy each other. But don't build connection by tearing someone else apart. Sometimes you need to turn off the world. Your mind receives information all day. News, videos, comments, opinions, arguments, advertisements, messages, notifications, predictions, fear, anger, and then you wonder why you can't sleep. What would happen if you stopped consuming information for one evening? No endless scrolling, no checking every update, no reading comments, no searching for another prediction. Just silence. Music, prayer, conversation, a book, a walk, sleep. Your mind needs empty space. Not every minute needs to be filled. Sometimes clarity arrives when the noise finally stops. Don't let your phone become the first voice you hear every morning. Think about your first few minutes after waking. Before you've even processed your own thoughts, you check messages, then social media, then news, then other people's lives, then problems, then opinions. Why give the entire world access to your mind before you've even had a moment to center yourself? Try something different. Wake up, breathe, drink water, pray, stretch, think, write down what matters today. Then enter the digital world. Your morning doesn't have to begin with everybody else's priorities. Start with yours. There is power in saying, "I don't know." Some people fear uncertainty so much that they'll accept any explanation rather than admit they don't know. But there's tremendous strength in those three words. I don't know. I don't know what will happen. I don't know why this happened. I don't know what that person intended. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I don't know how everything will work out. Can you tolerate uncertainty without immediately filling the empty space with fear? That's emotional maturity. You don't need an answer for everything. Sometimes the honest answer is, I don't know yet. And then you continue living. Your faith can survive questions. Maybe you've asked difficult questions. Why did this happen? Why didn't God stop it? Why did someone leave? Why did the opportunity disappear? Why did the prayer seem unanswered? Those questions don't make you weak. They make you human. What if faith isn't the absence of questions, but the decision to keep seeking truth even while questions remain? You don't have to pretend. Bring your confusion into prayer. Bring your disappointment. Bring your grief. Bring your anger. You can seek wisdom without pretending you already understand everything. Sometimes faith grows deeper when easy answers disappear. Stop using the future to punish yourself. You might say, If this goes wrong, everything will fall apart. If I lose this opportunity, I'll never recover. If this relationship ends, I'll be alone forever. If my finances don't improve soon, I'm finished. Do you notice how often fear uses words like never, always, and everything? Those words make temporary problems feel permanent, challenge them. Instead of, I'll never recover, say, I don't know how I'll recover yet, but I can take one step. Instead of, everything is ruined, say, something went wrong and I need to decide what happens next. Language matters. Your mind listens to the story you repeat. Give it a story that is honest without being hopeless. You are not required to carry everyone. Maybe you're the person everyone calls, the one who gives advice, the one who lends money, the one who solves problems, the one who stays calm, the one who gets everyone through difficult moments. But eventually, you become exhausted. Who takes care of the person who is always taking care of everybody else? You need care too. You can love people without rescuing them from every consequence. You can help without destroying yourself. You can support without becoming responsible for their entire life. Sometimes the most loving thing you can say is, I care about you, but I cannot make this decision for you. That's not abandonment. That's healthy responsibility. You can love your family and still have different opinions. Families sometimes confuse disagreement with disrespect. Someone believes differently. Someone chooses another career. Someone has a different personality. Someone sees life differently. And suddenly, the relationship becomes a battlefield. What if you could disagree without trying?